You also told them that I was your uncle.
I thought you were.
Yeah.
What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to Grimm. This is going to be a part 2 on that girl that I covered earlier last week. She's a bit of an older guest on the Dr. Phil show, but she really believes that Eminem is her father, among many other big lies. And this is actually her return to the show after having treatment at this creative care facility that she stayed at. So without further ado, let's just jump into it and see if she's gotten any better, shall we?
I mean, were you not pregnant?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't pregnant?
So thankfully, we start this off with her confirming that she no longer believes that she is pregnant with baby Jesus. I don't know why her having a professionally done ultrasound on the show didn't prove to her enough, but it took her some time and care, and she finally was able to realize that she was definitely not pregnant. I think she just packed on a few pounds, and look, it happens. If that meant you were pregnant, then I would have had like a dozen kids by now, I swear.
At the time, I was so against it because I didn't think it was a real ultrasound, but now I'm looking at it and maybe I should have listened a little bit better, but
I mean, I don't know how you would exactly fake an ultrasound, but yeah, I think anyone who Dr. Phil has on his show to be doing this is going to be legit enough to do a good job to make sure that you don't have a kid. It doesn't help that this girl clearly has some mental issues that she's going through. She is labeled as schizophrenic, and I do believe that she could be. So that's why she has this confirmation bias where she really only accepts information that supports her ideas that are going on in her head, like her gaining weight in her stomach. That meant, oh, I'm definitely pregnant. But then when she had this concrete evidence from a doctor and a machine that's, once again, like I said in my last video on her, made specifically to tell if you have a baby or not, once she saw those, she was like, oh no, that wasn't real because that didn't show that I had a baby, and I do have a baby. So I think it's a mixture of her mental illness mixed with her just being a teenager and not wanting to believe in anything that doesn't support her ideologies already. That's why she was really not wanting to believe that she did not have baby Jesus inside of her womb, but thankfully she doesn't.
In fact, I think you told Dr. Stork to shove it.
yeah, I did.
How do you feel about that?
She was even giving attitude to the doctor who was a guest on the show, who was just trying to prove to this poor woman that she is not pregnant. But either way, moving on, now Dr. Phil brings up the whole Eminem thing, and let's hear how that goes.
You think Eminem is your
Dad.
Is your father? How do you feel about that now today?
I still feel the same way.
So sadly, she clearly is not much better because she was able to prove to herself that she's not pregnant with baby Jesus, but still this idea of her being Eminem's daughter is very real in her head. And there are just so many things that could disprove that. I said that in the last video, but I think they're going to go over that now and try to work through it step by step so that she can realize how foolish this is to believe. Yo, real quick before we move on, guys, do me a big favor. My analytics show that only 39% of you watching are actually subscribed. I don't know what's up with that, but if you guys are already watching the videos every day, you might as well join the Grimm Squad officially, so hit that subscribe button.
And you told people that at the treatment facility that he was your father. You also told them that I was your uncle.
Wait, what? What kind of lie is this? She was like, oh yeah, I'm here because I was on the Dr. Phil show. Classic uncle move. He just sent me to this camp. I don't know why. He's such a funny uncle. Like, what? How would Eminem be your father in secret? And then also, Dr. Phil is just your uncle. Like, your parents should be absolutely loaded if that's the case. These guys probably have $1 billion between the two of them, if not more. So I don't know why you'd be on the show struggling if that was the case.
I thought you were.
Yeah. Do you think I am now?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I mean, the sad part of this is it is comedic, but it's also a bit exploitative, if that's even a word. But you see the way that the mom looks at this daughter like, well, she's doing another crazy moment. But that's not the way to react to this. If anything, you should be sad that your daughter is not able to tell fact from fiction like this and is lost in this halfway reality that is going on in her head. She does not know how to disprove things in her own mind, and once she starts to believe something, she really latches onto it. Now she's running with this idea that Dr. Phil is her uncle, and she's still holding out for a possibility of that, even though you would definitely certainly know that he was your uncle if that was the case.
How would it be that we had never met before you came here?
I've had a ton of family come up to me and that I didn't even know.
And much like the Eminem thing, which a reminder of why she thinks Eminem is her father, her mom showed her this picture of her sitting on some guy's lap when she was a baby that looked a lot like Eminem apparently, and she took that as evidence for him definitely being her dad. And when it comes to Uncle Phil being her uncle, her thought process behind that is, well, I've had family that I've met that I never even knew about before, which is true, that happens, but that's because those people are just probably loosely related to you or don't have a great relationship with your parents or family in general. I've had the same thing happen where I'm like, oh, this is my uncle? Cool. I don't really know this person, but nice to meet you. But look, if that person was Dr. Phil, you would have definitely heard about it. I mean, you would have seen him on TV at some point and they would have been like, hey, that's your uncle, or that's your dad's brother.
I've been on television for 20 years. 5 years on Oprah and then 15 years of my own show. Do you think that...
Okay, not to interrupt Dr. Phil, but that is a light flex right there. This man's been getting that TV money for 2 decades. That's absolutely insane. And I often think of how much longer he's going to be doing this show. He has to have amassed so much money to where he could just retire at any point. But I'm hoping he keeps making content because this is legit one of my favorite shows on television.
Sometime through the last 20 years, somebody might have mentioned, by the way, your dad's brother's Dr. Phil.
That's what I'm saying, dude. If your uncle, or even, I don't care if it's your like third cousin twice removed, was semi-famous or nearly as famous as Dr. Phil, who was a household name at this point, that would have come up in conversation and you would have heard people flexing it all the time. I bet all of Dr. Phil's relatives do not shut the heck up ever about being related to Dr. Phil. I mean, it's just something you'd have to be talking about 24/7. I'd be bringing it up as a light flex myself, pretty much every conversation.
There's a lot of things that I think that people say that I'm just crazy.
And to be honest, this was actually a really heartbreaking clip here. You can see this girl is just really troubled and has a hard time with this perception of her being crazy. And I think that's the main root of this issue, is her family is not quite treating it correctly or the way that you should when someone is actually schizophrenic. I don't have any actual experience with this firsthand, but just from what I've read and what I can perceive, it's obviously not good to be treating this person as if they're crazy and telling them that they're crazy. There's other ways to word things and ways to keep them grounded in reality along with their treatment, because I think with this, it's not something that you can just live with and try to cope with. You seriously need help when you are having these visions like she is having. She talks a little bit later about seeing shadow people, which is very troubling. But I mean, ultimately, you can tell she's tired of being considered crazy and wants people to see what and really desperately wants people to see what and really desperately wants her to see. Okay, that line. And you could tell no one sees what and you could tell nobody sees what she sees, and that is really just heartbreaking for her because she wants to be normal. And overall, I just feel really bad for this girl.
Would that make me Eminem's brother?
No, that'd probably make you his dad.
Make his what?
That'd probably make you his dad.
And I feel bad laughing because I really just went in about how sad her situation is, but it's comedic when you see this. I mean, what is the logic there? If he is your uncle, and she said earlier that she would have been her dad's brother and her dad's Eminem. Sorry, not trying to lose you guys here. It's a big family web of just absolute celebrities, A-list celebrities. But according to her, Dr. Phil is her uncle, her father's dad. If that makes any sense to anyone, please let me know how that explanation works down below, but I doubt it does.
His dad?
Yeah.
Well, I have a son that's a musician, but it ain't Slim Shady.
I never thought I would have seen Dr. Phil say the word Slim Shady, so that was a nice touch there, but at least he's keeping it in a joking manner. He's not getting too serious. I think the more Dr. Phil is watching this girl and seeing how she's reacting to things, he realizes just how much help she's going to continue to need for probably the rest of her life. I mean, when you're living with something like she has, it is something that you're going to be dealing with day in and day out, and you need everyone to be on board, including the family, which is the big issue in this situation. I mean, he even goes in on her mother at the end here because she was apparently breaking protocol when it comes to this treatment that she was getting.
You didn't respect boundaries in interacting with her while she was there.
Well, I didn't see it. I didn't realize, and I didn't see it that way, and I'm sorry.
The care facility was writing in their notes the entire time just how much this mother was basically interfering with the daughter getting treatment. She was taking her away when she wasn't supposed to and talking to her in ways that just were really not helping alongside this intensive care that she was needing. And that's what's sad, is I think the mom just doesn't grasp how to treat her daughter with this now that she's been diagnosed. And instead, her and the other sister are just like, oh, you're so crazy, shut up, you're just such a crazy person, which just makes her spiral more and more out of control and lose touch with reality that much more.
Is that more likely, or is it more likely that I'm not his dad?
Could be.
But not to take away from the story, it is really sad how he's laying this out step by step with his girl, showing her where all of these ideas of hers have these plot holes, and she's just not buying any of it. Again, it's all confirmation bias. She's only wanting to listen to things that are pertaining to her, and that's something she's gonna have to really work with when she continues talking to someone, which hopefully she does. But there has not been a third follow-up to her being on this show, so I have to just assume that she is better now, and I'm really hoping that is the case, because this has to be one of the more tragic teens to be on this show. I know I was joking about it, and I'm gonna make this point again. I was not at all trying to mock her for feeling these things, because it's out of her control, but it's just a comedic context and it's hard not to giggle about it. I really, from the bottom of my heart, hope that she has gotten help for this, because it's something that she's going to have to continue to get help for the rest of her life, like I was saying. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of this girl down in the comments below, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video, and until then, peace out.